Hi there, Read 536. I'm Carol Kelly, and this is my triangulated analysis presentation of ERWC Grade 9. I focus my triangulated analysis on reading comprehension. I chose reading comprehension because, in my opinion, this curriculum is actually much stronger in reading than in writing. First, a little bit of an overview. The expository reading and writing course curriculum was created by the California State Universities with their Center for the Advancement of Reading and Writing. It is a free curriculum, but schools must sign up to adopt it because teachers must attend a 5-day training for grades 7 through 11. It is a supplemental curriculum. The 12th grade curriculum is a year-long course. The purpose of the curriculum is to teach students rhetorical inquiry to encourage critical thinking. The expository reading and writing course curriculum provides only nonfiction text for students to read and write about. For grades 7 through 11, there are 4 modules or units for each grade. I focused on grade 9 and looked at all 4 units across grade 9 curriculum. The units are divided into 3 sections: getting ready to read, reading for understanding, and connecting reading to writing. The units are not progressive. Each unit stands alone, and teachers can pick and choose which modules they teach and use them in whichever order they prefer. ERWC is meant to be flexible and user-friendly. Teachers are encouraged to use as many or as few of the reading and writing activities as they choose. Across grades 7 through 12, students read to understand the author's argument, then read to analyze and evaluate the argument and the evidence, and finally, to support their own stance in the writing section. The ERWC uses multiple learning theories. In the pre-reading phase, the focus is on schema and associationism theories. Since differences in schematic can greatly influence learning, the curriculum invests time in building schema and background knowledge on text topics. Each unit uses a combination of different activities such as brainstorms, quick writes, semantic webs, gallery walks, and 4 corners. They use anticipation guides and sentence stems to build schema and prior knowledge. The curriculum also uses inquiry and social learning theory. John Dewey's inquiry theory, which encourages students to hypothesize and test their hypotheses, can be seen when students survey the text. They look at titles and subtitles and read the first and last paragraphs of text prior to reading the whole article. Students then generate predictions and questions. During their initial read, students verify their predictions and answer their questions if they can. The curriculum also applies Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory. Because students work with partners, small groups, and as a whole class in the pre-reading and reading phases, students have the opportunity to learn by observing others and reproducing what is being modeled for them by the teacher and more able students. They do this in a low-risk environment as they practice the skills and strategies that they've been taught. In the reading phase, the curriculum continues to use groups to complete activities. The emphasis, though, is on transactional reader response and critical literacy theory. Students read text multiple times. Initially, students read with the purpose to understand the author's argument. Evidence for transactional reader response can be seen as they mark the text and make annotations in the margins. The students code the text to show connections to other texts, their lives, and the world. In the left margin, they annotate to understand what the author says, making note of key ideas, claims, and evidence. In the right margin, students react to the text by marking where they are confused, asking questions, noting where they agree or disagree, and where they see connections. Students then read critically to challenge and question the text and the author. This draws upon critical literacy theory. Students use rhetorical inquiry as they consider multiple perspectives. They also question the author's biases and credibility. They consider how context influences the message. They use a soapstone graphic organizer to look at subject, occasion, audience, purpose, speaker, and tone. They also look for examples of ethos, pathos, logos, loaded language, and other rhetorical choices the author makes to influence the audience and achieve the intended purpose. The ERWC curriculum leans upon 2 overarching approaches: constructivism, and social learning perspective. Schema, inquiry, and transactional reader response theories are examples of constructivism. Students construct knowledge by integrating new knowledge with existing knowledge. They also gain knowledge through investigative and creative activities. They can do this through hypothesis testing and inferencing to fill in gaps to comprehend what they have read. Students actively create their own learning. The ERWC also uses the social learning approach, evidenced by the social cognitive and critical literacy theories. They emphasize the importance of social interaction and social influences in students' learning. Students learn from participating in small and large groups as they observe and learn from each other. They also learn critical thinking as they use rhetorical inquiry reading strategies that teach them to question and challenge the worldviews in the text they read, rather than blindly trusting and believing what they read. Lens 2, Best Practices. The ERWC curriculum makes use of many best practices. Some of the strengths include connecting text to students' prior knowledge through many activities, including sentence stems, quick writes, anticipation guides, pair shares, four corners, and gallery walks. The program also gets students actively engaged with the text by having students set their own purposes for reading, by making predictions and generating questions based upon their preview of the text. The ERWC does include vocabulary instruction. Vocabulary activities vary across the 4 units, but typically students are asked to write a sentence and provide an example of a word or draw a picture. One unit does do a semantic web with the vocabulary. Vocabulary instruction seems less about developing vocabulary and more about using vocabulary to help background knowledge. The curriculum encourages many types of teacher and student-led discussions through the unit. There are whole class discussions, but there are many activities that promote student discussions, including gallery walks, four corners, anticipation guides, and small groups using language frames. Students read for authentic meaning-making purposes, such as to be informed or to discuss or debate an author's position. In addition, students also get experience working with informational text structures by identifying those structures and breaking them down through chunking, labeling, and descriptive outlining. Descriptive outlining, also called saying-doing, is a strategy in which students chunk or group text according to what ideas go together and what purposes that chunk is accomplishing. The students then summarize the chunk and state what the chunk is accomplishing, such as telling a personal anecdote to connect with the audience through humor, or using a counterclaim to support ethos and logos. ERWC uses many graphic organizers, but soapstone is repeated in every unit. Soapstone asks students to analyze text rhetorically by making inferences about the speaker, the occasion for writing the text, what traits or values can be inferred about the intended audience, the author's purpose, the subject, and the tone. In every unit, students annotate the text as they read. They use the left margin to track key ideas and textual evidence, and the right margin for personal reactions or connections to other texts, their own lives, or the world. Finally, the way the units are organized is a best practice in a pre-reading, during reading, and after reading structure. Lens 2, Best Practices, Weaknesses. The weaknesses in the best practices can especially be seen in a lack of range of authentic text. Units 1, 2, and 4 use a single 2 to 3 page text. Unit 3 uses several 2-page texts. If a teacher covers the whole unit, then students only read a single 2 or 3 page text for 4 to 6 weeks. Teachers can either go on the ERWC website board to see if other teachers have shared more text to include with that unit, or they can search out text themselves. However, it might be advisable to determine if the text complexity meets qualitative and quantitative measures. The vocabulary instruction is not consistent. Each unit offers 1 or 2 different activities to do with the vocabulary words. There is no unifying or progressive approach to vocabulary instruction. I can share from personal experience that the website does not offer any ideas for vocabulary instruction. The only solution is for teachers to create their own vocabulary instructional plan, either on their own or as a department. And finally, there is a lack of explicit progressive strategy instruction. Similar strategies are used across the units, but without a progressive structure, there is no gradual release of responsibility. However, I think the CSUs made this decision intentionally to allow the units to stand alone and to allow for maximum flexibility. Lens 3 looks at the standards. The strength does include meeting Strand 1B. The curriculum offers high-quality, culturally responsive texts. The topics and the themes are interesting and relatable to teenagers, covering hip-hop music and culture, extreme sports, social media, and stereotypes. The text came from quality publications like National Geographic, The Washington Post, and The New York Times. The authors were diverse and had a well-respected name in journalism. The curriculum meets all strands in Criterion 2. It is really good at developing comprehension. Students can use the strategies they learn from ERWC across the curriculum. They learn how to identify main ideas, arguments, details, and evidence. The curriculum uses many graphic organizers across the units to help with comprehension and with text structure. Students also learn how to question an author and evaluate the validity of evidence. This curriculum really challenges students to become critical thinkers and not to blindly trust and follow. The curriculum meets both strands for Criterion 6 and encourages class discourse and use of academic and domain-specific vocabulary in the discourse. It includes a variety of discussions with partners, in small groups, and as a whole class. The curriculum meets Strand 7A as well. It supports differentiated instruction for academic conversations by providing sentence stems with linguistic frames. The ERWC does have weaknesses in meeting the Common Core standards. The ERWC does not do well in Criterion 1 because it does not offer a range of texts. I do not think this is a fair evaluation because the curriculum does not intend to provide a range of texts. It is a supplemental curriculum that only offers informational texts. At the same time, it would be nice if units offered more than one text for students to read. While the curriculum scored well with the speaking and listening strand, it would have scored higher if more formal presentations were included. It could be something as simple as having a formal debate or including more articles and assigning the articles to groups for presentations to the class. Finally, in Criterion 7, the curriculum lacks teacher instruction and does not gradually increase difficulty throughout the school year. However, I believe that this was a decision on the part of the CSUs because they purposely made each strand stand alone for the sake of flexibility. I haven't looked at the curriculum of other grade levels to see if the curriculum does become progressively more difficult and include gradual release of responsibility across the grade levels, though. In my overall assessment, this program is very good at helping students learn how to read expository text and develop strong comprehension strategies. Also, I have never seen a program, except the College Board's pre-AP curriculum, like the ERWC, that teaches rhetorical inquiry. The program uses interesting and relatable expository text that motivates students to read. It is very well aligned to the Common Core standards, especially in Criterion 2, at questions and tasks aligned with student learning, in Criterion 6, speaking and listening. It falls short in Criterion 1, range of text, because it is more of a supplemental curriculum meant to help ELA teachers incorporate expository text into their curriculum. I'm less concerned about the curriculum not providing clear and explicit directions for teachers or ways to differentiate the curriculum because it requires extended training. These issues may have been addressed at that time. However, teachers only attend the training at the time of adoption. If it's been several years, they may be forgotten. The program could address this issue by simply offering refresher videos on the website. The real issue with the program is that it falls short in Criterion 7 by not offering clear guidance for documenting if students are meeting goals. The only real assessment is the essay at the end of each unit, and only a rubric is provided. Essay grading can be very subjective. If they made anchor papers or exemplars available on the website, it would help. Thank you, Read 536. I hope my analysis of this program has been helpful. Thank you for your time.